Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Julia and I like to make videos on motherhood and lifestyle. Today's video is going to be on sleep training. Now, a lot of people have opinions on sleep training. A lot of people really like it and a lot of people really don't. There are some people that swear by sleep training, and then there are some people that are totally against it and they will gladly do whatever their kid wants to do. I am not here to say you need to sleep train your child or they are going to grow up and never know how to sleep properly. I'm not saying that at all. I am not a professional. I am not a certified sleep consultant, and I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is what worked for me and my baby, and I want to share that with you because no baby is the same and your baby is not a textbook. So what works for your kid isn't going to be working for possibly your second kid or your third kid or, you know, your neighbor's kid down the street. I'm here to tell you that these are just some of the things that I used that I would like to share with you for other moms out there who may be kind of struggling, because I was struggling, and all of the videos that I found, sorry, I am so out of breath. All the videos that I found online were pretty much let your kid cry it out. Like, that's not really beneficial for me whatsoever, nor is that the route that I want to go down. You know what I mean? So, a little about our background during this time. I decided to sleep train Eleanor around 6 months. Prior to her turning 6 months, we were co-sleeping in the same bed that entire time. From the night that we came home from the hospital all the way until I decided, all right, this is the time I'm going to sleep train her, we were sleeping in the same bed. I was nursing her all the time. I was nursing on command. It's what worked for us as a family. I was working full time. Josh was working full time. So it worked well and we really liked it. We liked being able to wake up in the middle of the night and know that Eleanor was right there. We liked being able to reach over and touch her and just feel her presence. And she really liked that too. She was definitely a baby that wanted to not only sense my presence, but actually like feel my presence too. So it worked until it didn't work. And that's usually how co-sleeping ends up. But I was a first-time mom. I didn't really know what to expect or what to really do when it came to sleep. I had read up all about safe sleep prior to having Eleanor. I was educated in the hospital. I was told, absolutely do not co-sleep. Your baby needs to be sleeping in their own bassinet or in the crib, you know, completely free of everything else in there. And I knew prior to even having Eleanor, I did not want to just put her in the crib or in the bassinet. I didn't feel comfortable with that and I didn't feel safe with that. And I know that there are a lot of moms out there that feel the same way. I was terrified of SIDS and I just wanted to be able to always have her next to me while I could. So I knew I wanted to go sleep, and we did. Now, it was right around the 6-month mark when she started to roll around a lot at night. She started thrashing around, and I knew that she was getting to be the age where she needed her own space at night. And we have a king size bed, so it's a big bed, but I'm 5'10", my husband's over 6 feet tall, so we're not petite people. So with both of us in the bed, plus a 6-month-old who was rolling around all over the place at night, and we're both working full time, not getting great sleep, it was a lot. And then COVID happened, and I was home with her pretty much 6 days a week. I would only go on one day for work. And I was like, I am going to take this opportunity and I am going to sleep train Eleanor because it was getting bad and I knew it was getting to that time. Now, again, I had done research. I had read up on the different methods of sleep training. And I was taking bits and pieces of what I was reading because I didn't want to stick to just one. And the methods that I remember reading about were the Ferber method, The obvious one is the cried out method. The pick up and the put back down method, and then the chair method. I can't exactly remember what their Ferber method is. I think it's a hybrid of cried out and something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then you have obviously the cried out. You just put them in the bed and their crib and you let them cry themselves to sleep. And then you have the pick up and the put back down, which is you obviously put them in their crib and they're going to start crying. So that's when you rub their back and you pat their back a little bit and kind of soothe them while they're still in the crib without picking them up. And if they are still unsettled and they're still really crying, then you pick them up and you kind of soothe them and you kind of rock them a little bit and you put them back down while they're still awake. And then the chair method, I believe, is very similar to the cried out and the pick up, put back down method, in that you pick them up and you soothe them and you go through the motions of that, but then you sit in the chair until they fall asleep. And you kind of do that until they're asleep. So while reading these, I'm like, those methods do not seem to work for us in our lifestyle right now. Like, I knew I didn't want to obviously do the cry out method. The chair method just seemed weird to me. It just didn't make any sense. And then the pick up and the put back down, it kind of, that one is more of the method that I went with a tiny little bit. And I'll explain what I did with her. So I had read that you should start with naps and then transition to bedtime when you are doing when you are sleep training. So that's kind of what I did. I started with the naps and I had her in her cradle. I didn't have her in a crib just yet because at night we were still co-sleeping. So I had her in her cradle and I would lay here in bed with her until she fell asleep, and then I would transfer her to her cradle and then she would take her naps. And she would sleep for a few minutes and then wake up, realize where she was, realize I wasn't there, and then cry. And that's when I would come in and I would soothe her again and I would just lay with her. And that I found that her doing that for her naps just really didn't work because it wasn't long enough to be consistent with it. And she really needed her naps in. And if it got too late in the day, then it was going to mess up her other naps. So I was like, it doesn't work. I'd rather just start with bedtime for sleep training. And that's what we did. So with her naps, I would do what we were doing with our naps, which I honestly, it's weird to say, I can't remember what we were doing for her naps at the time, even though it was only a year ago. Anyway, so I continued doing what I was doing with her naps normally. And then with bedtime, what I decided I was going to do is I was going to pick and choose and kind of do like a little hybrid thing of sleep training and try to figure out what would work best for not only me, but mainly for Eleanor, because it could work out great for me and what I would love to do. But if it's not going to work with Eleanor, then it's pointless. So I set up her crib in our room. So we were technically still co-sleeping. We just weren't in the same bed. And I started with a routine because that is so important to have a bedtime routine with your baby. They need a routine during the day and they need a routine at night. So I knew for sure I needed to do that. So we would start off with dinner. We would have dinner at a certain time. At least I made sure that she had her dinner at a certain time. And then we would do a little bit of play after that. And then we would move on to bath. And I would make her bath super relaxing. And I would give her a bath every single night. I wouldn't necessarily always wash her body, but I would make sure that she was in nice warm water that was just very relaxing. And then afterwards, I would give her a little baby massage with some coconut oil. And there are some times that she would fall asleep during the little massage that I would give her. And then there were times that she wouldn't fall asleep. The times that she would fall asleep during her massage, I would get her dressed, I'd put her diaper on and everything, and then I would rock her in the rocking chair that was right next to the crib, and I would nurse her back to sleep because she would wake up when I got her dressed. And then once she was completely out, she had detached from the boob. I knew that she was in deep sleep. And then I would put her in her crib and I would leave. Now, at the very beginning of this, she would obviously wake up and start crying because she realized I wasn't there. She was in a new space and she didn't like it. So I knew that that was going to happen. And what I would do is I would obviously just put her in her crib. I would leave and I would set my timer for 2 minutes. And I started with 2 minutes. And if she hadn't settled, it might have been even 1 minute. I can't quite remember because it's been a long time. So it was either 1 or 2 minutes. I would set my timer for that, and then I would just wait to see if maybe she would go back to sleep or if she needed me to come back in there. Most of the time, she needed me to come back in there. So I would go back into the room and I would pick her up and I would rock her and I would nurse her back to sleep again. And I would just continue that process until she actually fell asleep in her crib and she stayed asleep for a good stretch of time. And I let her cry a little bit. I didn't do the full cry out method because she was only 6 months old. She was so little. And I just didn't like it, and neither did Josh. Now, during this time, during the whole sleep training process, I knew that it was going to fall on to me because I was still nursing her at the time. And I knew it was going to take a lot of dedication on my part because when you start sleep training and you decide, I am going to sleep train my child, you have to be really dedicated. You can't do it a few days, be consistent for a few days, and then not be consistent and just stop doing it. I'm telling you guys, if you really want to sleep train your child, you have to be dedicated. And there's no one saying that you have to pick one method and you have to stick to that. Test it out. Do what I did. I kind of had to tweak a few things. I had to really figure out what worked best for my child, what worked best for me, what worked best for Josh because he was working full time at the time. And it's just doing what you think is best for you and your family at the end of the day. If you don't want to sleep train your child, totally fine. You do what you want to do. I am just telling you what worked for us, and I want to tell you our story because it's not cookie cutter. And I don't know why it seems like it is on social media because it's not. Eleanor will be 18 months next month actually, and she still wakes up at night. Not as often, but there are a few nights that she still wakes up. She's not consistent with her sleep all the time, and that is totally normal. I feel like society, it appears that society, especially on social media and on Instagram, that a mom posts that she sleep trained her child, and her child has slept since they came home from the hospital all throughout the night. And I'm here to tell you that is very, 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 very rare, and that is an anomaly almost. Don't feel bad if your kid isn't sleeping all throughout the night. Don't feel bad if your kid is 2 or 3 and still wakes up at night. It's okay, guys. They're learning, you're learning. They have so many different things going on in their little baby brain of theirs. They're going through so much development, and it's honestly overwhelming for them. They have a lot of stimulation throughout the day, and they don't necessarily know how to turn that off at night. And that's what happens when they wake up. It's totally okay. You just got to roll with it. Now, back to our sleep training journey. So like I had said, she was in her crib in our room for the first few months while she was sleeping in her crib after co-sleeping. And it worked for a time, but we don't have carpet in our bedroom, and our dog sleeps in our room with us on his bed. So when it came time for Josh and I to go to bed at night, the dog would come in, and even with the sound machine going, his nails would be enough to wake her up, or us closing the door would be enough to wake her up, or her, and I honestly think it was her just smelling me would be enough to wake her up, and she would. And it was fine. because I would just rock her and nurse her back to sleep. But then I would go to sleep. And it's like she just sensed that I was there and she needed to be next to me. And it was at this time that I started going back to work, full time throughout the week. And I was so tired. I was so tired of constantly waking up like 3 or 4 times throughout the night to repeat this process, because it took a while to go through this process of nursing her and rocking her back to sleep. She would wake up like right away as soon as I laid her in her crib. And Josh is working full time, and I want to make sure at least one of us is getting a good night's sleep. So I reverted her coming back into bed with us, and I relapsed on co-sleeping. And we did this for a few months. It was when she turned 9 months that I was at my wit's end, not with her. I wasn't mad at her at all. I mean, she's 9 months old. She doesn't know any better. I was just so exhausted. I was so tired. I was having a hard time like functioning in the morning. Everything was a blur. I don't remember much. It wasn't to the point where I was absolutely exhausted that I was going to make critical errors the next day and the continuous days, but I was just so tired. And I knew Josh was exhausted too, because it was in the middle of the summer. He's working super late. He's getting up super early because he's a farmer. And it got to the point that we were just like snapping at each other because we were both so tired. So I was like, all right, this is it. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. One day I texted Josh. I said, I'm taking down her crib and I'm moving it upstairs, and she's going to sleep, and I am going to sleep train her again because I can't take it anymore. And that's what I did. So I got her crib all set up in her room. And the first night was rough. And what I had actually done was I did the whole normal bedtime routine. I nursed and I rocked her to sleep. And she went down really well, which was surprising how well she went down. Hold on, my drink is here and I'm parched. She went down really well. I was really surprised. And then she woke up. It was either super late at night or like really early in the morning. And she started fussing and crying. And I actually just let her cry it out, because I was like, she knows how to like comfort herself. Some people may disagree that babies don't know how to comfort themselves or self-soothe. I knew my baby at this point, and I knew what she was capable of. She only cried for a few minutes. I think it might have been like 30 minutes. And then she fell back asleep, and she was fine the rest of the night. The continuous nights, I obviously didn't let her cry it out. I would go up there and I would comfort her, and I would go through the motions of letting her nurse and rock her back to sleep. But the amount of times I had to go up there to do that dwindled drastically. It was to the point, it only took a few times of me having to do that. And when I say a few times, I mean it only took a few nights of me having to do that, because she was in her own area. It was dark. We had an oil diffuser that's a kind of like a nightlight for her that would go off when there was no more water. So we had lavender oil going for her. We had her sound machine going for her. We had the humidifier going, and it was wonderful. It was so relaxing. It was awesome. Like, I had a hard time not falling asleep while rocking her, because it was just that relaxing of an atmosphere. And that's what you want for your baby's nursery when you do decide to have them in their nursery sleeping on their own. And I tell you guys, she started sleeping so well after this because she was in her own space. And Josh and I started sleeping so well. Not the first few nights, because we were really nervous because she wasn't near us. So we were constantly watching the monitor like, have you seen her move? Did she move? Have you seen her move lately? She's been in that position for a really long time. Are you sure she's going to move? It was like that. But after a few nights, she was good. And I wholeheartedly believe it's because she needed to be in her own space. That's how it has been since she was 9 months. When we hit the 12-month mark, I want to say it was, she went through a leap, and she didn't regress in her sleeping, but she was up more. And I was still nursing at this point a little bit, a little, not as often, because at 9 months old, I had to start supplementing with formula because I was struggling with pumping. Not only enough milk throughout the day, but just pumping in general. I hated it. I loathe pumping so much. I'm really not looking forward to doing it again. I mentally needed a break. So we started supplementing, and she had that, but at night I would make sure to nurse her. And at 12 months, that's when she kind of went through her sleep regression. She was going through her 12-month leap. A lot going on cognitively and developmentally, and she was starting to walk. So she had that stimulation going on, and she didn't know how to shut it off at night. So she would wake up quite a bit throughout the night. And again, we would just go back to making sure she had a really relaxing bedtime routine. Because once she was pretty solid with sleeping about 12 hours-ish, we kind of got a little lax on her bedtime routine in the way of I wasn't giving her a bath every single night like I was when I was sleep training her. But I was very consistent on when she went to bed. That was one thing I was such a stickler on. But you know what? She thrived off of it, and I thrived off of it because her and I both need that routine. So once we got past the 12-month sleep regression, she started sleeping fine again. She was sleeping throughout the night. I don't think she ever was very consistent with, she would go to bed at 7, wake up at 7. She has never been real consistent on sleeping 12 hours. It's anywhere between 10 to 11, sometimes 12 hours. It seriously all depends on when she wants to wake up. That's totally okay. As long as she is getting a good night's sleep, and as long as I'm getting a good night's sleep, we're both good. So after her 12-month sleep regression, she was fine. And then fast forward to present time. It was a few weeks ago, probably a month and a half ago. I had actually shared this on one of my videos, my pregnancy updates, that I was struggling because she was not sleeping. And I thought it could have been her 18-month sleep regression just hitting early, because what I had read is that some babies go through it starting at 15 months. And I was like, oh no, she's only like 16 months. Is she really going through her 18-month sleep regression? Which, excuse me, is kind of a big one because they're really entering the toddler stage. And she was so curious about everything. And she was walking everywhere. She's learning so much, and you can just see that her brain is really working overtime. And they're going through a lot of cognitive development at that time, of the time frame between like 15 to 18, sometimes even later into 19 months, where they can have that regression. So I was like, all right, that's what we're going through right now. And add on teething, because she was getting her molars, and she's still cutting molars. I was like, all right, it's a phase. It'll be over very, very soon. And Josh and I were having such a hard time. We were really struggling with sleep because I had done everything. We went back to being real strict with her bedtime routine of making sure she had a bath, making sure she had a lot of food for dinner, giving her a full bottle of milk, making sure that she was full and not hungry, making sure that she had a bottle in her crib with her in case she woke up thirsty or hungry. Sorry, I'm so out of breath. We just reverted back to being pretty strict with her routine to make sure that she was comfortable and that she would get the best sleep that she possibly could. So after a week had passed by and she was still sleeping like this, I had no idea what it could have been, because normally her regressions only last anywhere between 5 to 7 days max. And teething would only last a few days until the tooth is has broken the gum and is like actually coming down. That's how it is for her, at least. And mind you, I was giving her a little bit of Tylenol every night prior to me not really knowing what was going on, because I thought her molars must be really hurting her, because those were the first molars that she was getting. So I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable. And there were a few nights that she would wake up, only once. There was an occasional night here and there that she wouldn't wake up at all throughout the night, but most of the time she would wake up anywhere between 2 to 3 times at night. And the routine of getting her back to sleep was like 45 minutes long. And then I was like, Josh, I literally have no idea what is going on. I have read up on every possible thing that I could think of what could be upsetting her. I literally have no answer. So I ended up talking to Josh, and I was like, maybe, just maybe, she's ready to move out of her crib. And I thought it was too early, and so did Josh, because I had read up on the average age that a lot of moms decide to move their child from their crib to a toddler bed. And some say as old as like 3 to 4. And the earliest was like 1.5 to 2. And that was only because they had another baby on the way and they wanted to have the crib and not buy another crib. I had every intention of buying a second crib because I wanted to keep Eleanor in her crib for as long as I could and just, have the new baby in the new crib. Eleanor had different plans. We have a mattress up in her room, and we've had that mattress up in her room. My camera cut me off. Like I was saying, we had a mattress in her room probably since I actually moved her up to her room. And I had it there for the purpose of if she is sick at night or we're having a bad night and one of us needs to sleep up there with her and just continuously wake up with her, at least we have that mattress there. So she was so comfortable with that mattress. Like, she would always climb up on it, and it was just on the floor. It wasn't on a frame or anything because I wanted to keep it Montessori themed for her. So she would always climb up on it and always play on it and always play with her toys on it. So she was really comfortable with it. She had no problem going up and getting off. So I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to test this out, if she is ready to move from her crib to the mattress, I'm going to start with naps. It's short. It's easy. I'm home with her to actually do it with her. So that's what we did. And the first nap, she slept for 3 hours. I kid you not. Prior to this, she wouldn't sleep for more than like an hour, hour and a half, maybe, if I was lucky. So the fact that she slept for 3 hours, it was just like, who is this toddler and where did my Eleanor go? So that was wonderful. It was kind of sad though, because I was like, she's not even 1.5 and she's kind of showing signs that she's ready to leave her crib. Now, because she was showing signs that she was ready to leave her crib, I kind of had to change up her routine and how I put her to bed. Because prior to this, I wasn't nursing her, but she would have a bottle, and I would give her her bottle, and I would rock her to sleep. Or Josh would give her her bottle and rock her to sleep, because we were alternating nights. After she was continuously sleeping throughout the night, we would alternate turns, and we would lay her down while she was asleep. We wouldn't lay her down while she was awake. And that's just what we liked and what worked best for us. Now, because she was ready to move on to her mattress, what I did was obviously give her her milk, and she loves to have her bottle. Her bottle is very comforting for her. It's soothing. It's just one of those items, kind of like a pacifier to most kids. Her bottle is like that to her. So we give her her bottle of milk, and I will lay down with her on her bed on the mattress until she falls asleep, and we will cuddle and just have that snuggle time, just her and I, and she'll fall asleep, and then I'll leave the room and she'll sleep all night long. Now, there are a few times here and there that she'll wake up, but most of the time she'll wake up and she'll get on all fours and she'll kind of look around a little bit. And I don't think she's actually awake during this time. I think she is just in transition from one stage of sleep to the next stage of sleep. because her fussing and crying doesn't last very long, probably about 30 seconds, and then she lays back down and she falls back asleep. But there was one night, like 3 nights ago, that she actually woke up screaming, and I think she might have had a bad dream, or she could have just been scared because she was like actually screaming, not just crying. And then that's when I went up with her and I got her some more milk and I laid with her until she fell back asleep, and then I left the room. And that's what we've been doing. That's what works for us. Now, I realized I didn't really touch on how we laid her to sleep once she was actually sleep trained. So let me go back to that. So when she was actually sleep trained and she was pretty consistent with sleeping throughout the night, I know a lot of people swear that you are never supposed to lay your child down while they are asleep. The whole point of sleep training is for them to figure out how to sleep on their own and self-soothe. I didn't like that. I didn't want to do that, and I wanted to have as much time with my baby as I possibly could because I'm gone 40 hours a week. So we would either nurse while she was still nursing, or when she was over a year old and I had gotten pregnant and she didn't like the taste of my milk anymore, so we switched to a bottle. We would give her her bottle and we would rock her to sleep. And when she was out like in a deep sleep, that's when we would transfer her to her crib. And she would kind of wake up a little bit, but not fully aware. And she would just roll back onto her belly, and she would fall asleep, and she was fine. And that's what worked for us. So you don't need to lay your baby down awake in order for them to have a successful and great night's sleep. We didn't do it, and it worked out great. Eleanor is asleep right now, and she's very consistent with her sleep. She sleeps from probably about 8 to 7 most nights, now that she is sleeping on her own mattress and not in her crib. So that is our sleep training story and what worked great for us. I hope that this video isn't meant to be like a comparison type of video. I never want anyone to compare their kids to somebody else's kids, or even compare their own kids to one another. I know it's hard to do, especially in today's social media frenzy world, that you can't help but do the comparison game. I'm just here to tell you my story of what worked best for us and to hopefully help you guys out there who is struggling with sleep training because your child isn't cookie cutter. You don't have to find one method and stick to it. You can tweak your method. You can alternate. You can not alternate. You can alter what you think would work best for your kid to suit their needs. That's what I had to do because Eleanor was changing so much, and she wasn't going to take to just the cryo method. She's very strong-willed. She's very independent. She's very stubborn. So she would be crying for a very long time had I done the cryo method. And she would have worked herself up so much. I just know it. And the other methods, honestly, just kind of seem dumb for our lifestyle and what would work best for our family, if that makes any sense. I know I'm kind of rambling on at this point, but I just wanted to make this video to hopefully help someone out there, even if it's just one person, to help someone with sleep training their baby. Because I know that there are so many videos out there that tell you to just let your baby cry it out. They'll be fine. They're not going to remember anything. And that's very true. They're not going to remember it. It's not going to have a long-lasting effect on them into their adult years. They're not going to remember, oh yeah, I remember when I was just a few weeks old and my mom let me cry it out in my crib. No, that's not how it works. But you know what? You're going to remember it. You may feel guilty later on for doing that. So, but if you do it, whatever, totally fine. I'm not here to judge. Let's not judge other moms. All right, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I am going to take a nice hot shower because I'm very tired. I will see you guys later, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.